In the Sefer Darkei Yishaya, in Rabbi Yishaya Pinto, Shlita, he asks a beautiful question. He asks, how could it be that when David HaMelech had to die, right, when we know that he died on Shabbat, I want to read the story, and then I want to show you what Rabbi Yishaya Pinto asks a question. How can David HaMelech die when he was learning Torah with all his strength? How could the Torah not protect him? Because we know the Torah protects people. So how was the Malach HaMavet able to take David HaMelech? So the Gemara Masechah Shabbat and Daf Lamed Amar Aleph says, Amar David Lefnei HaKadosh Baruch Hu. David HaMelech said before Hashem, Ribono Shel Olam, Master of the universe, Hode'eni Hashem Kitzi, Hashem inform me of the end of my days. Amar Lo, Hashem said to him, Gezerehi milefanai she'em modim kitzo shel basar v'dam. Hashem said, it's a decree before me, I do not inform the people the day of their death. Umidat yamai mahi. Okay, so tell me the days. How many days I have left? I don't tell people the days, how long they're also going to live in this world. So tell me, when am I going to cease? When am I going to die? Which day? What's going to happen to me? Amar lo, Hashem said to him, B'Shabbat tamut. You're going to die on Shabbat. Anybody who's born on Shabbat goes on Shabbat because he desecrated the Shabbat. So he says you're going to die on Shabbat. David HaMelech said, Amud be'echad b'Shabbat. Rabotai. David said, let me die on Sunday. Why Shabbat? Let me die on Sunday. Let me go on Sunday. Amar lo, Hashem said to him, no. Kvar higiya malchut Shlomo bincha. Already the kingship of your son Shlomo came. Ve'em malchut no ga'ad b'chaver tafil kimulo nima. And one kingship cannot touch the other kingship, even a hair's breadth. Amud be'erev Shabbat. David HaMelech said, okay, so let me go on erev Shabbat. Why Shabbat? Amar lo, he said to him, Hashem said to David, Ki tov yom bechatzarecha me'alef. Listen to this, Rabotai, how important it is to learn Torah. Tov li yom echad, shata yoshev ve'osek b'Torah. One day that you sit and you're oisik b'Torah, you sit and you learn Torah one day, me'elef olos shati Shlomo bincha lakriv al mizbeach. More than what you're going to do one day in learning Torah and being oisik, it's much more than thousands of korbanot, sheep, cows that your son is going to offer on the altar. This one day you learn Torah is much more to me than what your son is going to offer to me in the future. Every single Shabbat, David HaMelech sat and learned the whole day. The whole Shabbat he would just sit straight through and learn Torah. Because he knew that day he was going to die. And he knew that the Torah protects you from the Malach HaMavet. That day the Malach HaMavet came to take his soul on Shabbat. The Malach HaMavet came right before David HaMelech and he wasn't able to take his life. Why? Because he was learning Torah. As long as you learn Torah, it protects you from everything. He says, the Lo Havi Pasek Pumim Migir said, because David HaMelech, he didn't stop a second from learning Torah. Amar, the Malach HaMavet said, what am I supposed to do? I'm supposed to take his life, but he's learning Torah. I can't take it. He said, he had an orchard behind the house. Ata Malach HaMavet, the Malach HaMavet came, he went up the tree and he started shaking the tree to make weird noises. David HaMelech came out to see what's all this noise going on. Have a sali bidarga. He started going up on the ladders. Ifchi the darga mitutei. One of the ladders, one of the steps, carved in under him. Ishtik. He stopped learning Torah. V'nach nafshei, and he died. The Gemara goes on to continue what happens to him, how you're supposed to remove him from the sun, etc. But now I want to read for you what Rabbi Yishai Pinto asks. It's an unbelievable question. Rabbi Yishai Pinto asks over here in his Sefer Darkei Yishai. He asks a question. He says like this. He says, this Gemara, zot tamu v'kasher. It's very hard to understand this Gemara. How could it be? David HaMelech sitting and learning Torah all day, and here you have the Malach HaMavet. He took him just like that. So he says, upirushim rabim. There's many explanations that was said on this piece. He says, ach nireh levaer ulitchazek biyisod chashuv lefnei matan toratena kedusha. I guess when he wrote this was right before Shavuot. He says, I want to speak about an important foundation. Hine haTorah kocha gedola vechazak. The strength of the Torah is so strong. Ve'ein davar asher omed liyad koach haTorah hakedusha. There is no other strength that is able to be comparable to the strength of the Torah. V'hina av she'atar rega David HaMelech milamot Torah. Even in this situation when David HaMelech stopped for 1 second from saying words of Torah, Madua, he asks why? Why didn't the Torah that he learned should protect him even when he stopped learning? Because right before then he was diligent, he was being oisik constantly, non-stop. Just because he stopped for 1 second, why didn't that Torah that he learned just a second ago, why didn't it protect him? He says, the Torah should have protected him. It should have protected him. Because it says, whatever Torah we learn, we make with them malach, we make angels, whatever you do throughout the day, it protects you. So what happened to David HaMelech? Why didn't it protect him? He has a whole kunchus over here, but he says like this, Rabotai, he says like this. He says, you have to know like this. Omed, Rabotai, we need to understand what it means to learn Torah. Does it mean to learn Torah, to come to class, listen on your phone all day, sushi, pushi, pizza, shmita? Is that learning Torah? That's learning Torah is going to stand by you? That type of Torah is never going to stand by you. He says like this, what kind of Torah is going to stand by you and it's going to help a person to save him from these kind of things, from the Malach HaMavet? And then he says, and you're going to understand what's required of us. Guys, I'm skipping a lot because of the time. Rabotai, he goes like this. What is the requirement when we learn Torah, Rabotai? You ready? Lo largish ke'ev rosh. If a person has a headache, he shouldn't feel no headaches. Lo largish ra'av. He shouldn't feel any famine. He shouldn't be hungry. Lo largish me'uma, Rabotai. A person shouldn't feel anything. When you're learning Torah, rak dvekut atzuma b'Torah kedusha. You have to be attached 1,000,000% to the Torah. The disciple says you have anything else in your life but the Torah, Rabotai, good luck to becoming a Talmud Chacham. It's impossible. A person has to be 1,000,000% in Torah. You ever see doctors make heart surgery? I want to see them look in their phone for 1 second when the heart is unplugged, whatever. They're doing what do you call those? Stands, whatever, all these things. I want to see them go to the bathroom, take their time, look at the newspaper. Oh, what did he say? Let me get a coffee. I want to see them do it. The guy's going to die. When we're dealing with Torah, this is what we want to be as much as possible. Davuk to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And how do you do it? Through Hashem's Torah. Rabotai, so he says like this. This is the answer why I didn't stay for David. You guys ready? He says like this. V'kach yuvan etzel David. Malkeinu. This is the way it's understood by David, our king. This is shamar ra'ash. This is what David heard outside, the noise when he shook the tree. Bachuz outside. Ze pagam bilimud. This blemish is learning. Distracted. You guys ready for this? Visiman. Rabotai, the sign is Shizel limud eina mushlam. This is not a complete learning. This is not the type of learning that's gonna, he says, la'atil malach hamavet. This type of learning, when you're learning, and a phone, and this, and that, and this, Rabotai, that is not considered to be learning b'dvekas to the Torah, to attention. That's not, no. If you could be distracted for every single little second, that is not considered to be complete learning. So that's what he says over here. He says, Shezeh limud enim mushlam la'atil malach hamavet, ki im hayal halimud mushlam. Because had David the Melech learned the Torah complete with everything, lo hayash shomeim me'uma, he wouldn't hear nothing. When a person is really in the sugya, forget it. You're bamboo, he won't hear it. Ulachen Torah zod lo higen alav. That's why that type of Torah, when a person learns Torah and he gets distracted very easily, you know you're not fully in the Torah, Rabotai. And that's what he says. That's why his Torah did not protect him from the Malchamat. Why? Because it was not a complete learning. So Rabotai, we see over here how a person has to try to be able to, when you learn Torah, put everything on airplane mode. Rabotai, the Chavetz Chaim used to say, he used to have a small store when they used to make parnasa. He used to learn Torah. His rebbe used to come, we have customers. Rabotai, the Chavetz Chaim said to his wife, consider me for that hour dead. I don't exist. What the customer is going to do now? Nothing. Rabotai, when a person is learning Torah, he has to see himself as if he's not in this world. He wants to be able to learn Torah. You learn that 1 hour Torah. Rabotai, you will see the whole day will be successful. I'll tell you one small story that I told the guys last night in the 10:30 class. We said it like this, that Rav Moshe Walken, we asked him a question, he told me he couldn't sleep all night, because that's what means love for Torah. But I want to tell you something. Rebbe Walken, she told us, when the rabbi used to learn in the morning, he could learn up till 6 o'clock in the morning. The Rebbe would have to come and she'd tell him, his name is Rav Moshe Walken. She said his first name and said, get up, you have to go. And he's in the middle of learning. Go where? Daven. He didn't even know that he had to go daven. Rabotai, when a person grows fully in the Torah, when you love something so much, nothing can ever distract you. Bezrat Hashem b'lineder. We should each one pray that we have such devekus to the Torah, should be able to learn with 1,000,000%, and Bezrat Hashem become big Talmidei Chachamim. Baruch Adonai L'olam, Amen v'Amen.